DPS Rookie of the Year. Madison's commitment to her students is evident in her classroom, in her school, the district, and the state. I'm sure national level is not far behind. Madison starts by building relationships with her students, and that is like the most important thing. She collaborates with her colleagues to develop interdisciplinary, innovative learning experiences, including, which I totally loved, Genius Hour projects, breakout boxes, which were escape room style, and frequently incorporates music as literature. Madison has taken on leadership roles in her school and district, and recently she presented at the State Conference for Middle School Educators. I am delighted to introduce you to Madison Ambrose, our DPS Rookie of the Year.
I won Rookie Teacher of the Year for Durham Public Schools, teaching a Wu-Tang Clan song, Protect Your Neck. Well, I hope that wasn't the only reason, but it was the lesson I taught when the Rookie Teacher of the Year committee came to observe me. But before we get there, it's important I describe where I came from and why integrating cultures into the classroom matters so much to me and to our kids. I went to high school on the Outer Banks, an island off the east coast of North Carolina, an island largely segregated from the rest of the world. A beautiful place with many beautiful people, but a small place in both area and often perspective. On the Outer Banks, most natives have been there for generations. Most people look the same, come from a similar socioeconomic bracket, and have banded together time after time to rebuild after a hurricane. I was an outsider to this community, and it took me a while to find my footing. I'm the daughter of a single mother who worked tirelessly job after job to provide for my brother and me, while I watched my high school friends pull up to school in brand new BMWs. To be honest, I never felt like I truly fit in. Establishing myself here in the Triangle was an eye-opening experience and a bit of a culture shock, and I loved every minute of it. The city of Durham and Durham Public Schools are special because they view our diversity as an opportunity for individuals to share and grow together. It is our responsibility as educators to grab a hold of the unique opportunity DPS affords us, to instill in the whole child the benefits each of our differences contributes to creating an equitable community. Analyzing the extended metaphor in a Wu-Tang Clan song would not have been considered an effective tool, much less celebrated in the school system where I grew up. I love hip-hop music, so do many of my students. For this lesson, at least, my students were excelling and emotionally connected to Jizza's use of extended metaphor as he compared his rap skills to Jesse Owens' running skills. Unfortunately, in some districts, analyzing a verse from a Wu-Tang Clan song during our poetry unit would have been written off. DPS is different. Here, we value a multicultural curriculum and encourage educators to think outside of the box and to meet the students where they are, and at the same time have high expectations around academics, respect, and integrity. I choose to be a part of the DPS family because I believe in its values and its mission. I carry these values with me every day to our classrooms, to our department, to our PTA, our games and committee meetings, and to our greater Durham community. Knowing that I am empowered, valued, and supported at both the school and district level by my colleagues, administration, mentors, parents, and students to do my part in carrying out a vision with limitless potential, where all students are embraced, educated, and empowered so they may innovate and serve and lead. I'm excited to welcome you to this unique family, the DPS family. I was asked to share with you all today some advice. Now, we've all sat through these sorts of things, and I often find that I don't necessarily leave with tangible help to take with me. So with that in mind, I'm going to attempt to provide you with some strategies and tactics that I have found to be effective both in and out of the classroom. The thing that probably makes the recommendations I'll provide later all possible is having a strong support system at work and at home. Home holds me up when I'm feeling down and encourages me to step outside of my comfort zone, like speaking with you all today. My mother is a phenomenal listener and my biggest cheerleader. My boyfriend and friends are ambitious like I am, and together we help to elevate each other, whether it's proofreading a cover letter or a speech, or watching a friend's baby or pet when they need it. I am fortunate to have gotten a position at Rogersford Middle School, where a collaborative culture already existed, and so many people were enthusiastic about sharing resources and advice, or to just listen when I needed someone to bounce ideas off of. Beth Spatero, a teacher of over 15 years and my PLC partner for 2, shared her resources and knowledge, allowing me to integrate my own twist into our lessons. She also helped to ground me in the realities of managing 100+ students when my lesson idea was a little too lofty. Jennifer Umbarger, our media coordinator and my mentor, has co-taught research with me, read over my writing, and encouraged me to become involved in events with the Durham Association of Educators, as well as to participate this year in Duke's AIG certification program. Donna Dotson, full release mentor for the district, who gave me such a wonderful introduction, has always made herself available to talk and work through ideas. After an observation, I tended to be critical of myself. Donna taught me to begin with the positives and then to build upon that. Dr. Keisha Rogers, my principal at Rogersford, has always been a fierce advocate for her staff and for her students, and for public schools. To me, she is the epitome of a strong, professional woman. She's a role model for her students and for her staff, and I am grateful that my school has her to captain our ship. Without my robust support system, I would have struggled to succeed in an already difficult job. My support system helps me pick myself back up when I fall and continue to push forward when I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed. They remind me of the significance of my day-to-day and context and the lasting impact that my teaching has, even if it's not evident today. It's all too easy to lose perspective after a challenging day in a profession that's not properly valued in our state or country. There's a lot of outside noise surrounding it, often coming from people who have never been educators, mind you. There's so many great developments and opportunities occurring in public education today, and it's because of my support system that I am able to maintain a clear focus on my students and doing what is best for them. I also believe that it is important to share our passions at times, and at times vulnerabilities with our students, and to do so in a genuine manner. In order to build strong relationships with your students, it is vital that you are honest and open with them. How can I expect my students to share these qualities with me if I don't first show them what passion, honesty, openness, and vulnerability looks like to me? I begin each year by sharing with the students a letter that I have written to them about myself, and then I elaborate on it in class. I tell them about where I went to school and why I choose to be an educator. I share pictures and tell stories about my family. In return, they each write a letter to me about themselves, and I read each one and write each one of them a personal note back. I make my own notes about their interests and hang-ups while finding ways to incorporate their interest into our conversations at school. I also love music, as you may have been able to tell from the Wu-Tang reference, and that passion comes across when I incorporate music into my lessons, which in turn invigorates my lesson and increases student engagement. Music is also a way that I can connect with my students around our shared interest, and I can turn a bland lesson into an exciting one, or simply humanize me to the students who often think I live under my desk. Incorporating certain cultural elements into your lesson is not necessarily going to be effective for every kid. We all pull from different cultural references and have to continuously be adapting to the cultural needs of every child. Whatever you are passionate about, though, use it in your classroom. Show your students your passion and allow it to elevate your teaching. As a beginner teacher, classroom management was a daunting task for me. Each varying system for behavior management has its own positives and drawbacks, but having a system is imperative. And regardless of what system you choose, consistency in building genuine relationships with your students is key. I craft an individual relationship with each of my students starting on day one, and I know that nurturing these relationships over the course of a year is fundamental to any behavior management successes that I have with them. It is a time-consuming task, but by taking that time to get to know each of my 100+ students, I gain their respect and buy-in. This carries long-term benefits, particularly with student engagement and behavior management throughout the year. Being genuine with your students can carry incredible weight. I believe that we must remind ourselves as educators that it is valuable for our students and our personal well-being to be human and make mistakes. I encourage you all to talk about your mistakes with your students. We all mess up sometimes. It's important for our students to see that, and then also the appropriate way to make amends. We have to model those types of behaviors for our students if we expect them to reciprocate. Do as I say, but not as I do is not an effective strategy. And in my experience, being able to admit when you are in the wrong elicits respect from the students who may be used to adults always being right and not admitting their faults. Our kids are highly perceptive, and they can spot when you're faking it. I've also found that positive phone calls home can have a tremendous impact on building student relationships. Making those positive deposits early on can also build student and parent buy-in and negate the need to make a negative phone call home later in the year, where if you do have to make that negative call, it helps to build credibility both with the parent and the student when and if that time comes. But hopefully it doesn't. I'll give you an example. Right now, I have a student, when I teach at a year-round school, so we're on week 5 right now. Right now I have a student who I was aware of from last year. I teach 7th grade, so inevitably there are a few 6th graders who make it onto my radar before they reach 7th grade. And I know we're supposed to meet our students each year without any preconceived notions of who they are based on the previous year and what we've heard from colleagues or seen on behavior reports. But I prefer to use that knowledge that I've gained to get the buy-in from that student on the first few weeks of school. I have a student now who found herself into trouble a decent amount last year. On the first day of school, when she introduced herself to me, she told me that she can have an attitude problem and get into trouble, but as long as we be trapping, I'll have your back. I told her, I'm not quite sure what trapping is, but I will figure it out. That day, I had her pass out papers and help me with some minor tasks on the first day of school, and made a positive phone call home for her later that day. When she came in on Tuesday, she told me that she was so scared when I called because normally it's for bad news when teachers call home. She was quite proud to get a positive phone call home and wrote, "I'm a good kid," in her reflective letter later that week, to which I wrote her a long note of how awesome I think she is and how excited I am to have her in my class. I also wrote an email to my principal about how great she has been doing in my class, and my principal called her to the office to share with her the good news. Again, my student thought she was in trouble when she was called to the principal's office, but instead, her fears were abolished when Dr. Rogers praised her great efforts in our ELA class. This student has become an all-star in my class. I can always count on her to set the example for her peers and can trust that she has my back. I believe that my successes with her, though, stem entirely from me taking the time to get to know her, treating her like an individual and a young adult, and positively reinforcing her good behaviors rather than tearing her down for her bad ones. Positive phone calls home can also help with dealing with the negativity, which can be pervasive in a career with long hours, little pay, and often little respect. I've begun a new tactic of using positive phone calls home as a method of improving my outlook when I have had a rough day. Sometimes I can allow a lesson that didn't go well or a student fervently cussing at me to color the rest of my day. But instead of going home and complaining, I've started making 2 positive phone calls home before I leave school. I try not to allow one student or one tough lesson to overshadow the good that is happening around me. I teach over 100 students, and every day I can find at least 2 students that have done something that is worth celebrating, whether it is helping clean the tables at lunch or simply sharing a pencil with a peer. The action does not have to be great for the impact to be great. Positive feedback can really boost a student's confidence and love of school. This in turn improves my attitude, and I leave school feeling empowered instead of wallowing in the folly of the day. Share your passion and vision with your students and colleagues. Get involved in your local community and advocate for the public schools that we work in. Find positive allies in your school and district. Surround yourself with people who support you, encourage you, and build you up. Through collaboration and innovation, we can ignite our limitless potential and change the field of education for the better. In this room is a wealth of knowledge, expertise, and understanding. Before you leave today, make a positive ally. exchange email addresses, or make a date for coffee next week. Never forget that you are not alone, and together we rise.